Hello guys, it's that time of the week when I come out here to share with you guys my analysis for the coming week. As you all know, I come on here every weekend to be able to analyze the market with you guys to see if there will be any trading opportunity the coming week. And for those that watch the previous video I dropped on this particular platform, the trades I called out or we called out here last week went ahead in our favor and we were able to make some money out of the forex market last week. So that is not why we are here. If you didn't watch the trade or if you think I'm lying, you can check my previous video on that. Now, coming this week, we want to see if there are any trading opportunities the coming week. And as you all know, I like analyzing the market beginning from the weekly time frame. And what do I do on the weekly time frame? I come to look at candlestick pattern. What is the candlestick, the previous candlestick pointing? Is it bullish? Is it bearish? That a particular candlestick is going to determine whether I will be bullish the coming week or I'll be bearish. But if a candlestick on the weekly time frame, let's say for instance, this particular candlestick was pointing bearish, but if you see when I analyze the trade, I gave you a reason why if the bearish movement shouldn't happen, why we should be looking for buying opportunities. And as we all analyze, it went in our favor. So coming in next week, I'll be looking for buying opportunities on Euro USD. By the way, I have three pairs in mind that I would like to analyze with you guys here today. Euro USD, GBP USD, and USD CHF, the same way I did last week. Now, looking at Euro USD, our previous weekly candle close was bullish. It is not just bullish, it came to test this previous support zone right here, then gave us a bullish engulfing candle to the upside. What does that mean? That next week we should be looking for buying opportunities at least to this zone here. Why did I map out this zone? Because if we look left, we can see that price has reacted in this on that particular zone in the past. If we should look left, we can see that price has reacted on that zone in the past. So it is normal for us to expect price to go back into that zone. Then we will know if price wants to break that zone or put in a high before dropping all the way down. Now that we've been able to establish the fact that the Euro USD will be bullish next week, and now we'll go down to my daily time frame. And on the daily time frame, remember I was anticipating a sell. I was anticipating a sell all the way down to this trend line. But for some reason, I also showed you why I went in for a buy and why and how we're able to catch the buy move. If you look at the daily time frame, we can also see that the previous daily candle close was bullish, pointing to the upside, meaning that coming week we should only be looking for bullish opportunities. And overall, Euro USD is bullish. It has consistently print higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher high, higher lows. So we should be expecting it to print a higher high or at least give us an equal high. If there is any chance that Euro USD will want to reverse to the downside, we should see at least an equal high. Now going down to the 4-hour time frame, what do we have on the 4-hour time frame? Sorry guys, my network is kind of slow. Okay. On the 4-hour time frame, this was the trade I called out last week when I drew this trend line. At the time, price was at this particular level, and I said it's either price will continue bearish, it's either price would want to drop to the downside, but I'll only be interested in buying Euro USD if price should break this particular zone, break this trend line, come back for a retest, then I'll start looking for entries here, and that is exactly what price did. So coming in next week, what should we be expecting? And as I said, we should be looking for buys on Euro USD. So now you can see that even after price went up, price came back to test this zone before continuing to the upside. I want to enter, I want to go in for a buy on Euro USD on one condition. Okay, sorry, let me put this here like this. I will be looking to buy Euro USD If you look left, you can see that price reacted here for a couple of while before dropping to the downside. So I'll be expecting Euro USD, if that should happen, for Euro USD to come back into this zone here. I want to start looking for my buys inside of this zone on Euro USD. I want to start looking for my buys inside of that zone on Euro USD. If possible, inside this zone, our price will come back to make a third touch of this trend line before we start looking for buying opportunities all the way to this particular zone up here. But if Euro USD refuse to come back into that zone, if Euro USD refuse to come back into that zone, if I should take out my FIB, because currently now there is no way you can jump in for this buy, because there is no way you can set your stop loss. Ideally, I want to set my stop loss below this zone. But if Euro USD refuses to come back to test this particular zone, at least Euro USD should come back to make a test of this zone here before we start looking for buys. I want Euro USD to come back into the 0.5 and 0.618. I have seen people asking me questions that why is it that I like using the 0.618. If you also want to learn how to use this, you can chat me up, and I'm going to show you how to go about making use of the 0.5 and 0.618. But for now, that is not why we are here. I will expect Euro USD to come back into this zone before we kick off for a buy, or come back into this zone before I start looking for buying opportunities. Whichever one happens, once I see them, I'm going to wait for a bullish candle signaling me a reversal to the upside before I start looking for entries. That is all we have for Euro USD. And as I used to say, if you analyze the market, when analyzing for a particular bias, analyze for both buys and sell. So what if it happens if Euro USD wants to start dropping to the downside, of which I doubt the possibilities of that happening are just 20%. What if price wants to rally all the way down? It is simple. Wait for Euro USD to close below this zone. There are traders that will tell you wait for Euro USD to close below this trend line, come back to test. But me being a conservative trader, I will wait for price to close below this zone, this particular zone, then wait for a retest before I start looking for selling opportunities. But as it stands now, we are on a buy on Euro USD, and I'll only be expecting price to come back into this zone or into the FIB or make a touch of this trend line. Then we start looking for buying opportunities to the upside. The next pair we have on our list is GBP USD. Let's head over to the weekly time frame to be able to ascertain what is happening. Same thing that happened on Euro was same thing that happened on GBP. I called this trade 2 weeks ago when I said I'll only be looking for buys if GBP should break this particular zone, of which it did. Coming into next week, since our previous candle closed bullish, we should be looking for buying opportunities on GBP USD. And our next level target for GBP USD, if I should clone this, should be at this level right here. Should be at that level right there. Our next target for GBP USD should be at 1.3700. I repeat, 1.3700 on GBP USD. So now that we've been able to establish that GBP USD wants to keep heading high, if I should go down to my daily time frame to ascertain what is happening, ideally I should be expecting GBP USD on a daily time frame to come back into this zone, of which it is impossible. The chances of that happening is rather impossible, but there is a high that GBP has created here. We will expect price to pull back into this high. If we should look at it from the 4-hour time frame, sorry guys that I am fast. I just have to be, I don't want this video to be that lengthy. We should expect GBP USD. Let me see something, guys. Let me see something. Okay, I'll be expecting GBP USD to pull into this particular zone, come back into this zone before we start looking for buying opportunities, or pull into this high right here, because I will never ignore stuffs like this. I will not ignore stuffs like this. Pull into this high right here, one. Then if I should take out my fib from swing low to swing high on an uptrend, you can see this is the 0.5 and 0.618. So I'll be expecting GBP USD to pull into this zone, make a touch of this trend line, make at least a third touch of this trend line. If price decides to pull inside here, make at least a third touch of this trend line, then we should start looking for buying opportunities to the upside. But if it at all it breaks this particular trend line, we should wait for it to pull back into this zone, this origin it broke out from before it gave us this bullish a momentum to the upside. The same thing when I analyzed for 2 weeks ago, I said I will only be looking for buying opportunities if it takes out this zone and make a retest, and that is what happened. If you guys think I am not saying the truth, check the previous video and you are going to see it right there. The next pair on our list, I hope you guys understood what I did. I said I'll be expecting GBP USD, sorry, to pull back into this zone or into this zone before we start looking for buying opportunities to the upside. The next pair on our list is USD CHF. USD CHF. Just as I analyzed last week, I was expecting that USD CHF we was going to break out of this range to the upside. I was expecting this particular pair to break out of this range to the upside. And I also gave you scenarios for a downside, of which the downside played off, and I was able to cash this trade all the way down here. My profit target were at this zone. Price came shy of my profit target, did not hit me in. When I opened the market, I saw this bullish candle. I was still expecting price to drop. Price came back here, closed above, came back here, and I had to close this trade manually, only for price to go back to retrace, then drop all the way to my entry. But did I make profit? Yes, that is what matters. So nothing else matters to me. So looking at USD CHF, judging it at from the higher time frame perspective, that is the weekly time frame, we can see that price came back to test this particular zone right here. Price came back to test that particular zone right there. Nicely, price tested that zone. Then price came back into this price came back into this particular zone right here. Price came back into our 0.5, made a kiss of this 0.5. Then we started seeing that the next candle was bearish. So coming into next week, since USD CHF closed with a full bearish engulfing candle, we should only be looking for selling opportunities at least all the way to this zone down here. Let me map it out, guys. At least all the way to this zone down here. At least all the way. I know it is very, very close. We are going to make use of our usual 1 hour time frame to be able to take advantage of this trade. So what am I looking at? If I should go down on the daily time frame, you can see that at a time price started making higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, and price has come here to put in equal highs, though price hasn't broken the high. But we are anticipating that we know that USD CHF is on an overall down trend. So how am I going to take advantage of this trade? Coming down to the 4 hour time frame, I will want to see, you can see how price broke this particular trend line nicely, made a retest, then boom, it starts dropping. So how am I going to enter USD CHF? If price should continue dropping from this zone, there won't be any means to enter the market. I repeat, if price should continue dropping from this zone, there won't be any way I'm going to jump into this market. Let me see if there will be a way on the lower time frame like the 1 hour, except the market will play around here for a bit. Except the market plays around here for a bit, except the market plays around here for a bit and starts showing continuation candles to the downside, then I can be able to jump into this trade, stop loss above here. But ideally, ideally, I would want USD CHF to come back into this particular zone. You can see how it took, you can see how price danced at this zone for a very considerable amount of time before it broke to the upside. So I'll be expecting this particular trade to come back at least into this zone. If price refuses to come back into this zone for us to start looking for selling opportunities to the downside, if price refuses to come back into this zone for us to start looking for selling opportunities to the downside, I will at least expect this pair to come back into our trend line or this Fibonacci into our Fibonacci zone right here, then we can start looking for selling opportunities. I repeat, ideally, I will be expecting USD CHF to come back into this particular zone before we start looking for selling opportunity. But if in case it doesn't get to this zone, I will want it to come back into this our 0 our golden zone or make a touch of this trend line, then I'll start looking for selling opportunities. But if price decides to continue dropping at this zone, of which I will not fancy the entry, I do not fancy this type of entry, guys. I do not fancy it. But if price should continue dropping, for those that will be interested in taking the trade, you wait for a kind of tiny pullback. Maybe price will want to drop a little bit, make a tiny pullback, then boom, all the way to this zone right here. But ideally, I'll be expecting the market to pull into this zone, pull back into this trend line or this zone before I want to start looking for selling opportunities all the way down. But if in case that doesn't happen and USD CHF decide to break this particular trend line or this minor resistance bar I put up here, we should start looking for a kind of, you go down to the 1 hour time frame, look for a kind of pullback into this zone, then you take out your profit targets at this particular high right here. So guys, that is all. I've been able to analyze Euro USD, GBP USD, and USD CHF, and I have given you both buys and sells scenario. Though I repeat, on Euro USD and GBP USD, I am anticipating a buy, while on USD CHF, I am anticipating a sell. The dollar index pair is bearish at the moment. If you should look at the dollar index pair, let us take a look at the dollar index pair. The dollar index pair is bearish at the moment. If we look at it, you can see how it has broken this trend line. It is bearish at the moment, so it is correct if we should, it is very correct if we should start saying that all those pairs affiliated with the dollar will gain strength over the US dollar. So guys, that is that for my analysis for the week. And if you like the way I analyze the trade and you think you want to analyze your chart the same way I do, you can check the description of this video, a link to my course. And once you are able to purchase the course, you have full access to me, and you also have access to an online class 2 times every single week. So guys, that will be all for my time. See you guys on my subsequent video. See you guys on my subsequent video. Stay tuned and peace out.